that dream is green. And I don't mean material things. Freedom to the land, child, woman, and man. As we take up for what we stand. Better days and better nights. As we stand and unite. We're one and the same. Why is it so hard not to point and to blame? Better sheet, get our houses in order and we'll see the peace. There are steps that we must take if we wanna see.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us.
The sake of us, the sake of us.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. No more feeling, telling, being beneath. What a beautiful moment, and a sight I can't wait to see. Even if I miss it, at least I wasn't part of the mission. Changing lives of men, women, and children. Our glory goes to He that causes us all to be. Oh, and if they're thinking we can, we show them that just as long as we stand. A monument, we the people can't be broken as long as we stay focused. I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. For the sake of us. I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. I see my people rising, yeah.
Hakeem Habaim, welcome everyone. Welcome to another segment of Sage Talk. Sage Talk with none other than Chief Prince Sabulin is present with us, and myself, Chief Prince Shema. This is going to be a good one. Shalom, shalom, Chief Prince.
Okay, shalom urakod b'Hashem Yah, man. Torah Yah for another session, another opportunity to do our build thing, man. Looking forward to it.
Kane, and for those that's tuning in or just, following up on this with us, House of Violence Ministries Network on the YouTube, please go back to the last two that we spoke on or that we did. This Sage Talk is basically like, look, conversation builds on history, on scripture and things of that nature. So we decided to make sure that we come in. We want the public to come in and kind of see what some of our conversations be about, because a lot of it is extremely helpful and beneficial, and we think that a lot of people can benefit from these conversations. So, yeah. What you thinking today? What you thinking today, Chief? That's what you think.
Yeah, no, I was obviously we've had previous conversations on this subject. Can you hear me clear?
Okay.
We've had many conversations on this subject and other subjects that are attached to it. And I just kind of wanted to kind of follow up on some of the stuff that we spoke about briefly. Before we even get into Esther, I think that it's only right to paint the backdrop of what kind of I guess the geopolitics that were occurring after the time of Ezra that's leading up to Esther, because I think there's some things that are happening in Ezra that not only Ezra, but Nehemiah, and also in the book of Haggai, ends in the book of Zechariah. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But there's a lot of things that are happening in these texts that are leading up to the time of Esther, that I think are very important to bring out, especially even the subject of the canon, the issues with the canon and how Esther was viewed among other books. And I think maybe we can just start at that point, and then we build from there.
So definitely, most definitely, man. That's tuning in right now, if you are on YouTube, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, we prefer for you to be on YouTube, so you go ahead and get the algorithm going, so more people outside of yourself can see what the discussion, this segment, is about. One of the things before we go into how they viewed the Book of Esther, this whole time frame dealing with Haggai and Ezra and Nehemiah. It all reminds us. It reminds me. I won't speak for you. It reminds me of what we are going through now, what we're doing today, what we're accomplishing today. Getting started in the late 1800s up until this point, 2025. It's a memory. I was speaking on this last week as we was ending. We got about 4 more chapters left in Ezra, but as we was going through it, it just, the time frame, dealing with Zerubbabel, Yehoshua, and then going into Ezra, that big 60 to 80 year time period, if I'm not mistaken. You could correct me if I'm wrong. And it just reminded me of kind of where we're at right now. So I appreciate us going into this topic and then bringing some of the historical value that's needed to open our eyes just a little bit more. Because as you stated when we was talking about this before, we kind of just read it.
Indeed. Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Oh, wait. Hold on one second. Toda Rabba. Hold on one second. my Isha looked out for me. She said, I don't think your mic is on. So tell me if you hear a difference. A second. Can you hear a difference?
I do hear a difference.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So I'm passing the mic back to you.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I think that when we were having these discussions, I think one of the components of that initial discussion was concerning the received canon, the canon of what we commonly call the Old Testament, and we've always had our side discussions on what we thought the canon is and what we don't think the canon is, so on and so forth. But one of the things that I thought was intriguing many years ago, when I say many, I don't know, maybe I don't know, 11, 12 years ago, I was doing some research, some side research on the whole canonization process. Maybe it wasn't even that long ago, because I think it was around the time when I was drafting up the book, the history of the New Testament canon. So I was going through the process, the history of how.
Hold on. Excellent book. You can't just gloss over that. For those that's listening, make sure you your copy of that book. It's extremely eye-opening for those that want to get an idea of like first century and a couple centuries after, and how it kind of operated with the Hellenistic writings or the New Testament. So Shalom, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And you know me, I'm always going to downplay my books, but I will say though that in the process of putting that book together, I was reading there was a reference work that I had bought years ago called In the Beginning, and it was the actual, not only the history, but all of the mechanics of how the King James Version Bible was put together. I mean, in detail. It's a great book. I can't remember the author's first name, but I think his last name is McAllister. But it's called In the Beginning, the history on how we got the King James Version. And so, in doing my research for the book that I was working on, it made me think about the canon as a whole, but I also came across the whole the Council of Yamnia, because when in the New Testament, everyone likes to go to the Council of Nicaea, whereas most of the damage for what we call for the Christian church was really done in the Council of Trent, but that's another story. But the Council of Nicaea, that's the council that most people refer to when talking about the New Testament and its development. But when you're talking about the Old Testament, you always hear about the Council of Yamnia, and they, or Javane, as they say sometimes, and they'll say, well, the Old Testament canon was closed at the Council of Yamnia, and most people for the past few centuries, I mean, they just believed that it was just like, oh yeah, cool. But we didn't realize that this was a Protestant tactic in order to I guess refute the Catholic Church and their particular canon. So there's a whole history with that. That's another story in itself. But it got me thinking about the fact that when we do research on the Council of Yamnia, this council happened, it existed, but there was never a closing of the canon. There's not a piece of historical literature that confirms this. It never happened. This was a Protestant church mythology. They just conjured up out of thin air for their own reasons. But in the Council of Yamnia, the only thing that was ever discussed was certain books in the Israelite canon that they referred to as possibly books that will soil the hands, or books that will make the hands dirty.
Can you explain to the people that's listening what does that mean?
Oh, absolutely. The Pharisees, and I use this term very loosely, y'all. So anyone who has an issue with the Pharisees, just bear with me.
Well, see, hold on now. You about to let them know what the soil mean. But then we gotta bring out the Pharisee part a little bit too. We don't gotta go deep into it, but just a little bit, because I think that a lot of people, it became a catchphrase, Pharisee. Right. But I don't think most people know anything. When I say most, I'm not shooting at the people that do know, but most people don't really know what Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, Ebionites, all these individuals truly are, and don't understand that a lot of times when these things were spoken of, this wasn't across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anywho, go ahead. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, it's the whole issue with the Pharisees. I mean, that's a rabbit hole that we can go down forever, and maybe in a future show, possibly maybe the next show, we'll get deeper into that. But just suffice it to say that the Pharisees, or the group that was we commonly call the Pharisees, they were only concerned with when they were looking through the books that we have that they had in their possession. They were concerned, especially during the time period that we're talking about, during the Christian era, where or the years leading up to the Christian era. They're looking at books and saying, well, are there books in this canon that could potentially lead someone away from the Most High and the way of truth? So they considered anything that pushed you away from Torah. They considered it that which will make the hands dirty or will soil the hands. So the very possession of these books could cause you to go in very questionable directions. Among those books that they considered, not that they were considered to defile the hands or soil the hands, but that they possibly could do it. Those books were the Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon, as they call it. The reason being is because Song of Solomon has very sexual overtones to it. It's considered very carnal, and the Pharisees, they just didn't know what that book could do to someone who was not grounded. So they were always concerned about that part. So you have the book of Song of Solomon. You also have the book of Eob or Job, and one of the reasons why they always questioned the book is mainly because it's the only book in the Tanakh that is not written by an Israelite. So that was always a major concern for them. They never refuted the validity of the book. They never refuted the information and the moral presentation that came from it, but they questioned it mainly because it wasn't written by an Israelite, and obviously you have to be careful with stuff like that.
So what would you say to the people that say that Eob is
what?
Israel.
I would say, well, chronologically, it's not possible because Eob or Job lived during the time of Isaac. So therefore, he could not have been Israel because he would have been one of the sons of Isaac or one of the sons of Jacob. We don't. That's not chronologically possible. And if you look at because again, this is all dealing with anachronisms anyway. You look at the time period in which Eob or Job was written in the time that it's speaking on. It talks about Eob living in the land of Uz. We know that Uz is an acronym, you know what I'm saying, that is referencing an earlier name of what became known as Mount Seir. Mount Seir was basically the center of the kingdom of Edom. But it was called Uz because at that time, there were no real quote unquote Edomites as a nation because Esau was only maybe 60 or 70 years prior to Job. If you look at Job's friends, the Temanite, Teman is one of the sons of Esau. So we know that this is a very archaic work, and so the children of Israel are not even a nation. There's and to be honest with you, it's quite possible based on the chronology. It's quite possible that that none of the sons of Jacob lived during the time of Job. Job is a very early writing. Most of the time, I personally put it around the time of Genesis 34.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that, of course, Israel. So to say that Job is Israel, chronologically, historically, it's not even a debate.
I just want to make sure for the people that's listening, you know, you never know, you might have that one or two people.
Right. No, and like I said, and that's fine because again, there was a time when many of us we didn't know this information, and we stood on what we stood on, and that's okay. Time is the great equalizer, and through more studies and reading, people can come to a better understanding of these things. So, either way, Most High is gonna be magnified. But so the book of Eob, once again, was never questioned. The validity of the book was never questioned, but the authorship, because obviously it was written at a time when the children of Israel didn't exist. And so obviously it's not an Israelite writing. It just isn't. And so this is what the Pharisees were concerned about. They didn't cast the book away, but they were wondering, well, what could this book do? Because now they have to scrutinize it because it wasn't coming from an Israelite source. There's another book I'm trying to, off the top of my head, trying to remember the other book that they questioned. Oh, they questioned the book of Kohelet or Ecclesiastes. And those of us who have lived long enough know and understand that the book of Ecclesiastes is pure madness. It is absolute madness. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, because we're talking about a book that was written, tradition tells us, written by Solomon during the after his fall from grace. So this is a man who is eating, drinking, and being merry, lamenting over the fall of his kingdom.
Yeah.
Knowing that his son, who wasn't exactly the best possible option, but knowing that his son was going to inherit his kingdom, and this was not a good thing. So this is a man who is going through a lamentation, and he is not speaking according to the Solomon that we knew in the previous books like Proverbs. This
That's
is a
right.
man who is now questioning if wisdom is even worth it.
Yeah, and the thing about that, and I'll be really brief. I want people to really hear what was just brought out right there. He wasn't the same Shlomo of Solomon that we knew back in Proverbs. He went through all these things. He made some choices that really affected his position, even to the point that now his son is about to take over, and he knew that, So now this writing in Ecclesiastes or Kohelet, we're seeing him at his lowest point, and at the point that you just said, I don't even know if wisdom is vanity right now. So now when we understand that and we read it, we have to read it in that lens and understand why he's saying certain things. I'm not going to take this moment to give an example because I've given this example in earlier teachings that I've done. But when you begin to do that, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to do it. So when he says something and he says there's no man that doesn't sin, you have to understand that he's speaking about himself. How can I prove that? You're just reaching. Think about when Elijah had said that there's no other prophets but him. He was speaking from his point of view. Most High had to remind him, look, I got 7,000 people that did not bend the knee to Baal. So we have to look at it so that point of view that Elijah had was, man, I'm the only prophet. That was his view. Now you got Shlomo saying there's no man that doesn't sin. Why? Because he did a lot of stuff. And how can we back that up? To land my plane is exactly what you just brought out, Chief Prince, when you stated that he was talking about how great wisdom was in Proverbs. But when it got to Ecclesiastes, at his lowest point, understanding the decisions that he made, this doesn't take away the greatness that he was, but understanding now we start to talk about these certain things. And we have to realize that we have to read the text contextually and in like real life. Go ahead, Cheaper.
No, that's and that's actual fact. This is one of the reasons why when we talk about Hebraic ethics, but more importantly, Hebraic competency. Being able to go into the backstory, getting the geopolitical background of what's happening, looking at the context. Why was Solomon writing this? Let's not just say that Solomon wrote it. Okay, yes, cool, he wrote it, but why? And why does it contrast his previous works? Why does it contrast Proverbs and even contrast Song of Songs? It's a completely different voice that is being used in this book, and it's a voice of a man who is looking back at a squandered legacy. He's looking at a squandered legacy here. So we're not just talking about, you made a mistake here and you can bounce back. No, he took over 1,000. He made over 1,000 bad decisions simultaneously. 300 of those bad decisions were royal wives, and 700 of those bad decisions were concubines.
Yep.
Completely going against what Torah says about the king not greatly multiplying wives and taking women that he should not have been dealing with at all.
Yeah.
So he's piling upon itself more and more. And he is sitting down now, because this is the only reason why a person could say that there is nothing better for a man than to eat, drink, and be happy. But in Proverbs, what's better for a man? What's better for a man than wisdom and the worship of Yah? He does not say that the worship of Yah is the best thing for a man. No, he says to eat, drink, and be happy. Like, let's just and so you understand that this is coming from a man who is not writing in his right mind. He's writing, and it's like the Book of Lamentations. He's literally weeping over a squandered legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Melech David, King David, passed him. This was he literally passed him a kingdom. Like, yo, listen, it's yours. You already got it. You already got it. You know what I'm saying? He walked his son right up into the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And now this older man is watching everything that he built, everything that he prayed for. He's watching it go to the proverbial Christian hell. He's watching it go to hell. And so again, the Pharisees, when they were looking at these books, and we're looking at a book such as this one, there's an understanding that they're looking at it from the perspective of not how they feel about the book, but what could this book do to those who do not have the root,
Right.
that does not have the foundation of Torah like they do, and will come across a book like this. I'll tell you a book like that'll do. It'll cause a person who's already going through some depression to justify the depression, say, you know what? Yeah, wisdom ain't it. Wisdom, it's all vanity. All is vanity.
Yep.
Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
And we're seeing a bit of that in our community. It's in Christianity. Even with the doctrine I just brought out when it talks about Ecclesiastes 7, how they took that and warped it.
Mm-hmm.
And then even how we view the scripture when we're speaking about and taking away or downplaying the righteous men and the righteous women in the scriptures because of books that's similar to Ecclesiastes. Now, granted, I'm not saying I'm bad about it, but just going off of what you're bringing out, because Ecclesiastes, still great stuff in there.
Absolutely.
What I'm saying is, to your point, I believe that's what is happening, and the Pharisees who had that thought process, I don't believe they were wrong.
Oh yeah, they were absolutely on point.
Shalom, Adon. Appreciate you tuning in. Rampantly running. Yep.
Yeah. So when you look at these works, and we're good, and there's another book that we're going to get to very shortly.
Yeah.
So again, the Pharisees were not saying that these books were bad. It was simply suggesting, well, where do we want to place these books? What place do they have in the canon of our scripture? Because how do you deal with a book like Ecclesiastes? And I'll give you something else that I learned many years ago, and that is, there is a tradition, and I want to say, I can't. I'm not going to quote it because I don't remember the source in the Talmud that speaks on it. I'll have to pull it up at another time. But there is a tradition that states that the last two verses in Ecclesiastes were not written by Solomon. That they were written by later Pharisees who could not let that book end on the note that it ended, because otherwise, let's keep it real, Ecclesiastes is a suicide note waiting to happen. So the Pharisees were very, and again, I'm not saying that that's what it was. Solomon could have very well ended it off that way. But the Pharisees were suggesting that, or at least some of the Pharisees believed, that there's no way that a person could write 12 chapters of depression and then at the end say, well, you know what? Let's hear the conclusion of the matter. Revere Yah, keep his commandments. But that's the whole duty of man. That's the whole purpose of man, or that's all of man, because it completely goes against everything else that's written in the rest of the 12 chapters. So, but again, this is the point of what I'm saying, in that the Hakamim, or the sages of that time, they were concerned about how this book would, what role would this book play on the minds of those Israelites who were reading it and may not be grounded. So they were concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and that subject is a whole nother subject in itself for another time. But
Look, we gonna be getting into a lot of subjects. This segment is Sage Talk. We have a lot. We
right,
have so many years of conversation of going through history and scriptures and things like that, context, all these different things that's going to be presented to our people. So we got a lot. We got a lot. So hey, we're gonna be here for a minute. Not today, but we're gonna be here for a minute, y'all. And
indeed,
those
absolutely.
right now, if you are on YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, make sure you share this. We're about to get into it in a minute. We're just warming up.
No, absolutely.
Can you take the mic for a minute too, Chief Prince? I'll be right back.
Okay. And this is again, this is what we have been talking about for years. Those of us who've been in this walk, we've made it our business to look at some of these issues, looking at the text and the history behind these things, and just kind of tapping into some of the unsavory parts of our history. Obviously, when we're talking about the canon, we normally receive a very kind of glossed over, almost whitewashed version of it, and we have to understand that. Listen, just like the Pharisees had every right and had every reason to look at the text, look at the scriptures, and decide what were the ramifications of using certain books, whatever. We also, in our time, we as the children of Israel, we have the power to define and redefine what has been given to us in the canon. One of the things that I've said,
That's right.
one of the things that I've said to many brothers and sisters over the years, and that is that we have to remember that no matter how much, no matter how many shaloms and shalawams and that you give and ruach and all these terms that we use, no matter how you word it, at the end of the day, the English Bibles are the Christian canon. This is the canon that they gave us. We had absolutely nothing to say about the canon that we now have. We just don't.
That's right. That's right.
And so we know we do have the power to define and redefine, and we can question these things because if you have these Euro Gentile scholars who can sit down and question the Torah and suggest that the thread hypotheses of Elohist and Yahwist and Deuteronomist, all these different, like, no, if you can do it, no, the children of Israel could do the very same thing.
That's right. I'm getting on that book that I'm writing about canonization too. So, I'll let everyone know when that's ready, because it's very important, as you just stated, to understand that. To be honest, we're the authority. We are, and I say that humbly, respectfully, and understanding why. Hey, they felt the need to do what they needed to do. Right now, it's our turn to do what we're supposed to do. The Most High has put us in a position of gathering notes and to be able to see the context of what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on something huge right now. So, but all you righteous men and women out there that's watching this, please continue to pray for my family, but what we're about to do. And what we're about to do is going to be the very thing that we're talking about right now. We have the power to shift and change what our forefathers, foremothers, what they had pre-exilically, I like to say, right? I like to say right before in being in exile, or even within exile, and definitely before post-exilic. So, I'll pass the mic back to you. Said that's right. That's right. We need an authorized reconstruction of the Tanakh. You speaking our language now, and please stay tuned because we're about to bring a lot out. Sheik.
Absolutely, and this is we've been talking about this for many, many years, and I think that even in the issue of the canon, and again, this is not a shot at the canon, it's just saying that if we as the children of Israel, and not all of Israel, but those who operate in Hebraic ethics and competency,
Yes.
that
Say that
we
again, please. Say that again, please.
for those in the back, yes, not all of Israel,
Right.
and this is not to undermine anybody. It's just saying
No.
that just like in the days of Ezra, not anybody can go up into the temple. You know what I'm saying? No, if you could not prove your pedigree, you were not stepping into that lane. You had to find a different lane. So we're saying that today, that among the children of Israel, those who are Hebraically ethical and Hebraically competent
Right.
can make these things happen. We've been doing it for years through literature, putting different material out or whatever. These things, we have the right to do so. You know what I'm saying? More than anybody else on this planet, to be honest with you. But in continuation, the final book, or at least the final of the major books that the Pharisees were questioning.
Here we go.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
Here
Let's
we
get
go.
it. They questioned the book of Esther.
Question before you go forward. What group of Pharisees are you talking about? Can you give us a time frame of who the Pharisees that you're speaking of, or what whatever knowledge you have about that? What time frame are these Pharisees that you're speaking of?
It's at this point it's hard to say which branch, because the history of it in the Mishnah, they don't make the distinction at this point between the house of Hillel and the house of Shammai. It could have been a combination of both. Okay. If I were to take an educated guess, emphasis on educated, I would say that it was probably the house of Shammai, because they were the most strict. They were they held everyone, told everyone, pull up your bootstraps, and this is not to say that the house of Hillel did not have the same mind state at times. It's just stating that if I had to make a choice, in this particular case, I would say the house of Shammai. But it could have been, it could have just been a collective of them, because they very rarely ever distinguished themselves. Like, only people in the modern times, only us in modern days, do we really make those distinctions regularly. But they did not walk around saying, I'm a Hillelite or I'm a Shammite. No, we are the Parushim. We are the ones who can rightly divide the word.
So, really quickly, because there might be some people that's listening that may not be familiar with Hillel and Shammai, or they may be familiar with Hillel and Shammai, and they may not know the time frame. So what year, if you had to guess, would they have been? And I'm asking this for a reason too, because typically when we talk about Pharisees, it's a certain time frame that we're speaking of. So in this case, from your knowledge, your educated knowledge, and big on the educated part, what's the time frame of these Pharisees that you're speaking of? Like the year.
So, right. And again,
better question.
Yeah.
The school of Hillel and Shammai, are you familiar with what year they were around or prominent?
Yeah, both schools were prior to the common, or the so-called Christian era.
That was
yeah, Hillel. So we're talking about.
I wanted to ask that question on purpose. Go ahead.
Right, Hillel. We're talking about roughly. Again, some of the dates differ from scholar to scholar, but just roughly, we're talking about anywhere between 80 to 100 BCE for the house of Hillel, and about maybe 20 or 30 BCE for the house of Shammai. This is, again, there's questions about the years on it, because, well, for other reasons that we can get into for another time. But just generally speaking, we're talking about the BC time that these individuals actually lived. Now, the house that emanated from them, now we're talking, 90, maybe 100, 110 ACE.
Right.
So as far as the the council and making the decision as to how they wanted to approach these particular books. Okay, so let's put it this way: around the quote unquote Council of Yamnia was occurring. Definitely, it was definitely after the destruction of the Second Temple. That much is clear. Now, whether it was 75, 76 ACE or 95 ACE, there's questions about it. But I don't believe that it was a one-time council. I believe that it was a series of councils.
Did you see that comment I posted? He got to be familiar with the Mishnah.
Who's that?
Mikael Mariahu.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just saying, making that statement, you got to have some familiarity with it. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I know who that is. Well played, brother Matt. Well played. But no, so he so when we go into that time period, there is another book that the Parushim, the Pharisees, brought under scrutiny. They put the microscope of reason over it, and that was the book of Esther. And the funny thing is that many people, when we talk about the book of Esther, they're like, well, wait a minute, well, what's wrong with the book of Esther? I mean, this sister, she stepped up for the nation of Israel, and and look, she did, they jacked up Haman and all this, and all of the flowery presentations of that, and I get it, I understand it, no doubt. It's very similar to the book of Yehudi or Judith in the Apocrypha, very similar to to a certain degree, very similar to the ethical stances of Susanna as far as dealing with right judgment and all these other things. I get it. I trust me, I get it. However, the book of Esther, and this is the reason why chronology is so important. The book of Esther, the events that are contained in the book of Esther, they are happening at the time of the prophet Haggai.
Yep.
Why is this important? And I write about it in my book, The Haggai Principle. Available. Available. But it's it occurs during the time of the prophet Haggai, and in order to understand,
excellent book, you all. Trust me. Yeah. Forgive me for the interruption, but this is an excellent book, and when you read it, it will remind you of our time today. But go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent book. It's pretty decent, but so when you go to the time of Haggai, and Haggai is occurring at the time of Ezra, all of these things, all of these events are happening simultaneously. There is an overlap in these events, and this is very important when you think about what Ezra and Nehemiah were going through. Now let's backtrack a little bit, because you've already kind of hammered out a lot of things pertaining to Ezra, even in your own presentations on the House of Balance. So many of the listeners are going to be like, "Oh yeah, they're familiar with this, they're familiar with that." But think about this.
They may not know, because there may be some listeners on Facebook that's watching right now that don't tune in on Shabbat. So bring out whatever you feel you need to. I already got Ezra 9 on deck. If we need to go there, you let me know where we need to go. We going.
No doubt. So, consider that Ezra and Nehemiah, they are operating at a time, and they are taking a very strong position about the struggles that they were going through to reestablish Jerusalem, to reestablish the walls, to reestablish the true worship of the Most High. Because you got to figure, there were over a million Israelites in the Babylonian captivity at this time. Some estimates are more like 500,000, whatever the case. But there's at least 500,000, possibly 1,000,000 people. But let me ask you, Adoni, how many Israelites came back to the land to do the work?
You see how he testing me, y'all? Y'all listeners out there, those of y'all that's listening, just put a like or something. Just put a 1 in the chat. If you see he just put me on the spot, what if I didn't know the number? You know, what if but I really don't. It's between, I would say, 40 to 60,000, 30 to 60,000.
That's a very liberal number.
I know, because I don't know. I think it was in the 40s. That
many scholars say a safe estimate is less than 15,000.
Oh, I'm way off.
Oh no. It's just, but think about that. Even if it was 40, let's just say it was 40. 40,000. That's only 10%.
Yeah.
Of the people that were in captivity. Now imagine Ezra is looking at the ending of the Babylonian captivity. The countdown has happened. He's like, "Yo, it's over. The king has passed an edict. Nehemiah had him sign off on it. Nehemiah said, "Yo, it's time to boogie. It's time to get up, get to this work, get back to the land. It's time to go home." And what did we see? We saw only 10%.
Yeah.
It was a tithe, basically. Only 10% went back to the land, and the rest of them remained.
Yep.
Now we know what happened in the book of Ezra. We know all the struggles that they went through and so on and so forth. But think about what was happening in the book of Haggai, because Haggai is over there in Babylon, in Persia, because at this point the captivity and the exile captivity had shifted. It was in Babylon, but then now they're operating in the capital of Persia, which was at that time, it was the scripture says Shushan, modern day Susa. They're over there, they're over there doing their thing, and Haggai is the prophet that's over there, like trying to tell the rest of the people, like, it is time to go. It's time to go back and rebuild. And what do we see the people that were in Persia, the Israelites that were in Persia, what did they say according to Haggai, the first chapter? They said, "It is not time to return." Matter of fact, let's pull up Haggai real quick.
I'm about to pull it up. The scholars messed up though, Chief Prince.
How so?
I mean, maybe I'm reading it wrong. Scholars mess up. I'm just gonna say that. I'll talk to you later though. Haggai, what chapter?
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. Got you right here. I'll pull up chapter 1. Yo, what verse you want me to go to? First verse?
Oh yeah, absolutely. First verse, because we're gonna get. We're gonna get.
All right, cool. I'm pulling you back up. There you go. All right, let's get with it. Go ahead and read. Tell me when to stop. Haggai, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "In the second year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, on the first day of the month, the word of the Most High, the Supreme King, came by the hand of Haggai the prophet to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehuda, and to Yehoshua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest. Thus says Hamelech HaLeon, the Supreme King of hosts, these people say the time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Supreme King." Then the word of the Supreme King came by the hand of Haggai the prophet. Ooh, is it a time for you yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses while this house lies in ruins? Now, therefore, thus says Hamelech HaLeon of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and harvested little. You eat, but you never have enough. You drink, but you never have your fill. You clothe yourselves, but no one is warm. And he who earns wages does so to put them into a bag with holes. Thus says the Most High of Hosts, consider your ways.
Consider your ways. So we see that Haggai is like, listen, he didn't say we. Like, remember how you spoke about this before, how the prophets, we would speak as one man.
Yep.
Haggai wanted no parts of this nonsense. He's like, no, these people, those people, like not me, they. Because what's happening here? They are now living, they are now taking advantage of what the Most High had said in the book of Yirmiyahu about going that in this exile to build houses, plant vineyards, have children. Yes, because it's going to be a long time, 70 years. But when the time is up, the time is up. And that's why he said, what, you still want to dwell in your sealed houses? You've been living real good.
Yeah.
But my house is jacked up. So they're not arguing whether or not they should go back. They're saying, well, we don't think it's time.
Right.
They remained in Persia.
And this is, we was talking last week, and I'm passing it right back to you. And hopefully, Adon, if he's watching this, he'll be watching it back. This is why the context were all, each and every one of them, Haggai, Ezra, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel, Yehoshua. But the fact that when Nehemiah and Ezra knew that we are supposed to build this, we understood we're coming out of this captivity, now we're able to go here and do it. And then Haggai, or some people say Haggai, literally it says, thus says the Most High. Y'all still there? That's basically what we're saying. Y'all still there? Y'all need to be here. And if you can, do you, Haggai, what time frame would he be close knit, or right after Ezra and Nehemiah, or around the same moment, or a little bit after with Esther, correct?
During Esther, but remember, if you recall in the in my book, The Haggai Principle, I do show that there is a scholarly contention as to the chronology of them, because there's a lot of overlapping events. So there's a possibility that they were contemporaries, but that the books were written at a different time, so they kind of become almost anachronistic at times. So I'm of the stance that they were, when I say they, mean Zerubbabel and Yehoshua, the high priest, that they were operating during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, but a little bit later, like while they're already in the process of building up. Because remember, when Ezra and Nehemiah came back to the land, it wasn't an initial building process. There was a lot of other things that they had to do before any kind of building was happening.
Yeah, it said that Zerubbabel and Yehoshua had them going into worshiping and doing the around the, they didn't even build anything yet. They didn't even do a militia or anything. They just went into praise of the Most High. They were scared. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. So now here it is. Haggai is making this observation. He's making, thus saith the Most High, and he's coming at the people saying, listen, the Most High says, consider your ways. You know what I'm saying? I made sure that you was able to become lucrative in your exile. The Most High could have just smashed them during the exile, but he said, you know what? You're in exile, but I am going to make sure that you'll still be all right. I'm going to make sure that Cyrus, or King Karosh, will make sure that you get the edict that's going to allow you to go back to the land. You're going to find favor under King Darush. They're going to make sure. Nehemiah already was able to finagle, make sure that he had to do what he needed to do to make sure the paperwork was signed, the bills, everything like that was signed off on. And so there was a lot of grace that was shown so that the Israelites would be able to leave Persia and Babylon, head back to the land and do what they had to do. So the Most High was very gracious and was able to make sure that they were very bountiful in that exile. But he was like, okay, but now it's over. Now it's time to get back to work.
Right.
It's time to get back to work. This is where the problem comes in now, because Esther is occurring at the time that Haggai is prophesying. They're in Persia. They're not in Babylon. They're now in Persia.
Yeah.
When the book of Esther opens up, who are we seeing? Who we're talking about? We're talking about King Artaxerxes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Persian ruler. No, not Artaxerxes. I apologize. Ahasuerus. They call him Ahasuerus, whatever. But King Ahasuerus. Now he is king. He's the Persian king, and not only are the people satisfied with just being in Persia, but now you have a situation where Esther and Mordecai are now about to create a situation where Esther goes and becomes part of King Ahasuerus' harem.
Mm-hmm.
She's part of his harem now. They are being, you know what I'm saying? They are worried about trying to make living in Persia comfortable
Yeah.
for the Israelites, trying to make sure that Haman is removed, and because they want to be able to prosper in Persia. Now, on the surface, we're looking at that and it's like, okay, cool, yeah, no doubt. But we're forgetting that Haggai has already received that word of prophecy saying, yo, what the hell are y'all doing?
Right.
You're not supposed to be there. You were supposed to have all left out with left out there with Ezra and Nehemiah.
Mhm.
Y'all not even supposed to be here. So the book itself, the book of Esther in itself, is proof of what Haggai was already talking about. That you had Israelites who had no interest in going back to to repair the breaches. Their interest was in being comfortable in Persia.
So wait. So you're telling me that at this time, after being in exile, we're in Persia, we good, we comfortable, and we're not wanting to go back to the ways. We're not wanting to come together and build and praise and worship the Most High and do all these things back then. Sound kind of familiar with today. I would say. I mean, I know people call this an awakening that's happening, but it's still a lot of one foot in, one foot out. That I do encourage those that's listening. If you believe yourself to be that, let's get on out of that. But if you don't, or others, we got to figure out a way to. But the problem, I'm about to cut myself off because me saying that we have to figure out a way to do this. The reality is, Ezra, Haggai, and them probably felt the same way, and they only had, as you stated, between 15 and I go up into the 40,000 out of almost 1 million people that wouldn't do it. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna backtrack my word on that one and just keep praising the Most High and doing what we're supposed to do and touch as many people as we can, but understand that it may not happen the way we want to.
No, absolutely. And but even with the situation with Esther and obviously the obvious questions are, well, why is the book of, aside from that, why is the book of Esther even up for debate? And we spoke about this earlier in that Esther is the only book in the entire Hebrew canon that never mentions the Most High.
And that and what's crazy, you know how many times I read the book of Esther?
Mm-hmm.
I read the book of Esther. I've been in this about to be 15 years. I read the book of Esther a whole bunch of times. And I never thought about that right there until me and you had that conversation. Look at that. Somebody just put the little emoji. You can't see it, but I can. They put an emoji with the eyes out and the mouth like, whoa. How many times we done read it and we did not know that it did not mention the Most High's name? It's crazy.
Yeah, and not only not mentioning the Most High's name, but there's no mention of prayer to the Most High. There's no mention of Jerusalem. I mean, think about this. There's no mention of Jerusalem. There's no mention of Yisrael. Like outside of the Israelites who lived in Persia, their concern had nothing to do with anything outside of their scope in Persia. The book moves as if the children of Israel was no more.
Mm.
The book speaks in a voice as if the only Israelites that are in existence are the ones who are in Susa.
Hmm.
So we understand why Haggai spoke the way he spoke. He was disgusted because he also knows how Ezra and Nehemiah and his team, how they're struggling over there to
Because
build the house of the Most
they
High.
got a lot of hands on deck. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
saw the frustration of Ezra and Nehemiah. They had to put hands and feet on people regularly.
Yeah.
They had shut down gates. Like, you know what? No, ain't nobody coming in here. Yo, if I see you at this gate again, you get in these hands. So the struggles that they had to go through,
Mm-hmm.
the struggles that they had to go through in order to begin the building process of Jerusalem, to build all of this over again, that frustration was exacerbated even more so when they realized that there were Israelites, all these Israelites still in Susa, sitting back enjoying life.
So you got a question,
And
Chief. You got a question up there. I don't know if you can see it. I could tell it to you if you don't see it.
I don't see it.
The question is, so would you call it a historic reference, Esther?
Oh, no. Absolutely. The book of Esther is so by no means am I suggesting that the book of Esther is not important, not even saying that it shouldn't be in the canon. But yes, it is definitely of historic of historic use. It's an indication, and it's actually proof of what we see in Ezra and what we saw in the book of Haggai. So if you ever needed proof of what they were screaming about, what they were beefing about, all you have to do is open up the book of Esther and you can see it happening in real time. Esther is proof that Haggai was absolutely justified in his frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
That he had to petition Yah, and Yah had to say, basically, yo, y'all out of your mind. You're over here building up, living real good. You know what I'm saying? You're earning money, but you can never get enough. Y'all living fat now. It ain't even exile anymore. Y'all are conscientiously living in Susa. Meanwhile, my servants are struggling with the inhabitants of the land to try to get this worship back up and running. But yeah, so consider your ways.
So what? An excellent point. Excellent. I'm glad we came to Haggai to bring that part out too. What would you say to those individuals that's listening, or listening back, and they never thought about what you brought out as far as the Most High name not even being mentioned, prayer to the Most High, things of that nature. But then they think about the TV, the movies, or even their reading and Esther, and them was saying, "Oh, let's go and let's fast for these amount of days." And I think she may have said pray. I'm not sure. Okay, because you're making me think like, wait, hold on. But I know for a fact she said, let's fast, let's pray, let's do this. What's your thoughts on that part? Because I'm sure it's going to be somebody that thinks about that part, especially after you stated and said, well, the aim is the Most High. Like, whoa. I've been doing this for so many years. Like, all I know is, and I remember the fasting, and I think they did the prayer. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and as far as like I said, fasting is not, like I said, there's no prayer that I've ever seen going on in the book of Esther. Again, that's not to say that it's not. It's just saying that I've never seen it. Now, as far as fasting is concerned, I don't think as Israelites, I don't think we should get too puffed up about fasting, because even today, there's a lot of people who fast and they have no interest in the Most High whatsoever. They fast because it's just a healthy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, so even if we see fasting being pronounced in the book of Esther, yeah, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Fasting is great. But again, is this a fast that the Most High commanded, or did he command you to be obedient? You see how the book of Isaiah comes back to us now?
Yeah.
Is this a fast that I commanded? And so I'm not saying that the fast wasn't a good thing. What I'm saying is that everything that you see in the book of Esther is a moot point because they shouldn't have been there to begin with. They should have already been in Jerusalem. All of them should have been in Jerusalem rebuilding. So the fact that they're there doing all of these things and being oppressed by Haman, it's like, okay, well, that wouldn't have happened if you would have just been obedient and returned to the land like you were commanded to do.
That's right.
And so you see what I'm saying? So for me, I'm just like, well, I mean, it says what it says. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe that might be part of the reason why the Most High is not mentioned anywhere, because the moves that were being made in the book of Esther, they were not sanctioned by the Most High. This was more about their survival because they were living a great life, and then this guy Haman comes along and tries to ruin it. So now they're not fighting against Haman because of any righteous or unrighteous thing. They're like, no, he's coming to disrupt our lives.
Yep. Wow. They could. So wait. This is why I love the Sage Talk. We only in episode 3. You said a couple things that we just can't move to the side, and I may forget it if I don't say it now. So when this stuff was happening to them, they could have left. That's one. That's one of the things that you said. But you also said that the text or the Most High name, it's not no Yod Hey Wah Hey, it's no Elohim, it's no El being mentioned in there because this wasn't sanctioned by the Most High. One of the things I thought about, I heard someone speaking. Well, I heard a lot of people speaking, and they talk about certain things that they don't believe is okay with the Most High, sanctioned by the Most High, but then we see the Most High's name being mentioned often and dealing with these individuals. And I'm not talking about a specific subject. I'm just saying in general. And based off what you just brought out, we're like, man, we see why it wasn't mentioned, because it's a chance that this, it's not even a chance. It wasn't sanctioned. They supposed to be out. My mind was just racing when you said that point. I muted you too, by the way. It was a little feedback. But go ahead. Hold on. Someone says, not someone, but now I've heard some Christians use the book of Esther to claim that the Most High didn't speak in the Old Testament just like he did in the New Testament. Uh-oh. What you got for him, Chief Prince? What you got on that comment?
Oh no, I mean it's in whatever the Christians reasons for quoting that in that way. I mean that's a Christian problem. That's not a us problem. That's their problem. They got to figure that out among themselves. But as far as the Most High not speaking, I don't think that in itself is an issue, because the Most High doesn't speak in Psalms either. He doesn't speak in Proverbs either. But we're not talking about whether, and I understand what the brother Mikael Mathiyahu is saying. I understand what he's saying, but just as a counter to a lot of the people who would kind of go down that route, what the Christians are saying, we're not talking about whether or not the Most High is speaking. We're talking about whether we're speaking about the Most High.
You're right. That's yeah.
You see the difference. So again, the Most High never has to speak in the Book of Psalms. Why? Because everyone in the Book of Psalms is talking about the Most High, and that's all they're talking about is Yah.
Yeah,
so we don't have to. So we don't have to bust our heads about that. We don't have to bust our heads about what's going on in Proverbs, because Proverbs is, is singing the praises. I mean, not just singing the praises, but giving proverbial food for those who worship the Most High and who are trying to serve the Most High. So even when the Most High doesn't speak in these books, the Most High is being spoken of profusely. They're always saying, hey, all praises to the Most High, giving all thanks to the Most High.
True. What's David or David calls him the king, the king. I was like, I think he was the first one to literally call him that. That's interesting.
Yeah, indeed.
Shemuel did too. Shemuel did too. But
right.
David definitely was one of probably the second, if not, he was not the first, but he was the second one. I was like, wow. Yeah.
Right. And so Esther again, and this is not. Let me be very clear. This is not a shot at Esther at all. I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, man, we should take the book out of the can. No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that what makes the book of Esther, I think the book of Esther is more important uh, as a historical book than it is for anything else, because Esther is proof of what Ezra and Haggai had been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That book is the proof. It's the absolute proof, and you can even see it even in the book of the book of Susanna in the Apocrypha. This is also happening during the Persian period.
Mm-hmm.
Her and her husband, they're thriving. They, you know what I'm saying, they are prospering in Persia at this point. So again, it's proof of what Haggai and Ezra had already been complaining about. So it's one thing to hear it, the complaints one-sided, but then it's a whole other thing to look and say, oh wow, look at it, it's happening right there. Exactly what they're saying, it's happening right there. And so because of these things, all the things that we've been discussing, these are some of the reasons why the Parushim, or the Pharisees, they kind of gave the book of Esther the side eye, because they're like, well, okay, even after they destroyed Haman and all that, whatever like that, there was never any statement of, hey, you know what, hey, Todah Yah, give the Most High thanks, and hey, let's go to Jerusalem, let's go. Whatever. It's like, okay, it's right back to business as usual. It's about going and living a great life in Persia. Esther is now is one of the concubines, is one of the part of a harem. Such a deed in itself would have never been sanctioned by Torah law.
Yeah.
Prostituting your daughters.
Yeah.
So there's again, this is the reasons why the Parushim, or the Pharisees, why they questioned the book. Obviously, they didn't come at the book sideways, because they still allowed it to be in the canon.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? There's still, it's still in the canon. So they never actually, it's not like they threw it away, but they just realized that, okay, the book is what it is, and we just have to make sure that we're reading it in its proper context.
So let me ask you a question, because I'm not sure if we closing the door right now, if you have more you want to bring out concerning Esther. Shalom to those of you that's tuning in right now. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please like it. Subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you share it. If you're, getting some good information here at Sage Talk. Also, sidebar, I'm going to ask this question at the end. Let us know if, you prefer Yom Rebi'i, Wednesday, versus Yom Shalishi, Tuesday, for us to go on. So I'll ask that at the end. So, yeah, Chief Priest, if you are we have more to bring out on Esther, because I do have a question, or I want you to expound on something for the people, because you're bringing out Pharisees a lot, right? And, we got a lot of people that got a disdain for Pharisees. So I know that we could go into the book of Nehemiah, I think it is, not Ezra, but Nehemiah, and kind of go into where that word, or even derived from, I don't know if you wanted to touch on that once we're done with Esther, just in case you are visitors, but the people that's tuning in may not have, like, where the Pharisees come from? What did that idea come from? And then before we get into that, I want to, if you're just tuning in now, you got to go back and listen to the beginning. We was talking about context. We brought a lot of stuff out about context. And one of the things I want us to remember, because it's easy for us to use these terms, we are Pharisee. I hear people calling people that all day today, Pharisees, Jezebel, and we use these terms for negative connotations, and we don't know the foundation of it, or we look at other scenarios, we give it a okay to that, but we won't to the Pharisees or the Jezebel. I know that sounds crazy, me saying Jezebel, but there's some history behind that. And the idea that I'm really trying to bring out is, think about it. It's always a remnant in every group or type of person. You got some horrible Christians out there, right? You got the KKK, they was Christians, you know. You got kings that was amazing kings, but how many kings was actually great? How many was evil? You know, you have people that actually served the Most High as Bnei Israel, as Israelites, but then how many of us was horrible? Think about what I'm saying. So now when we get to the Pharisees, we can't lump it all on everybody and think all is horrible. And this is the foundation of, if you speaking like this, then you're a Pharisee. Well, you need to know that if you was in Moshe time, if you was around the prophet's time, that y'all would be calling them Pharisees too. Understand this. Do not speak as the Christian church fathers, right? The ones that weren't us, you know, that's pushing this idea on us to where now we're hating these individuals because they're coming against somebody that we hold dear. That's not everyone. Mm-hmm. Understand that. So I'm going to pass the mic. Shalom, shalom, Gabriel Hosha, but she said, shalom, shalom. It's crazy that they chose to stay in danger instead of working for Yah in safety. Hallelujah. We have another comment says, Todah Yah for the preservers of the way. Yes, sir.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So, are we closing out on the Esther, or we got some more on that, or you want to go ahead and dive into, I think you wanted us to do Ezra 9, or you wanted to go into the Parashim?
We could probably just go into the Parashim, or just we can briefly close out on Esther, because there's just a couple of things that needs to be kind of tied up with that, but we could definitely go into Esther. Also, Donnie, check your phone real quick.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, because like I said, there's a lot of history that's attached to everything that we're talking about, and it's only going to get deeper. The rabbit hole gets even deeper after the time of Esther, and these are the times that we know the Christian world has long referred to as the silent years.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we can probably maybe tap into briefly this evening, and obviously maybe a part 2 to kind of start going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, we can do that, definitely. Right now, you all, we're going to take a little moment. I want to speak on a couple different things, and then we'll probably resume in about 2-3 minutes. So bear with us, because we definitely, I definitely want him to, I'm saying definitely and not a lot, you know I'm tired. I want us to get into the Parashim, get an understanding of how that idea came about, because we're bringing out Pharisees a lot during this segment. And, you know, some people may be coming in, hear that term and leave, you know, due to what's been taught and brought out. But before we continue, you all, May 15th through the 17th, this year, because we're in January now. So this year, we're going to be having something called Learning the Culture Conference. Learning the Culture Conference. I think it's important. Some of these topics we're going to be talking about, Sage Talk, may pop up in it, you know. This type of dialogue, this type of information that's being presented will be there as well. But it's some important topics, you know, that we're going to be speaking of, and really trying to get people to understand the cultural side of it, not the, you know, because some people have a problem with the word culture, but the righteous cultural side of our scriptures, right? We're going to be going into those things. Also, myself, we have a course. It's called the Living Hebrew course that is out there right now for Hebrew. Those is wanting to learn how to actively speak, actively listen, to improve your fluency, or to build you to fluency. You know, contact us if you are interested in that. Contact houseofbalance12@gmail.com if you want to email us, and if you're interested for that. If you're on Facebook, you know, you can find us if you're already friends with us, and just reach out to us so we can get you set up there. What else? House of Balance Ministries, or Bed Mazar Ministries, we will be in North Carolina the 17th of this month. I'm doing a presentation for 7-Day Harvest. If you're familiar with that congregation, the assembly leader is Maury Douglas. So we're going to be out there and just bringing some presentation out there and hopefully provoke some thought and change is what we normally say for any and everyone we speak to or about. We all should be provoking or getting provoked as far as thought and change to be closer to the Most High. So this is not directed to anyone, but this is what we bring out and what we say, directing it to everyone. And with that, I think he got dropped. He should be coming back in soon. Let me see. All right. For those that's listening in and tuning in, what do you think so far? Leave a comment. Let us know what you think so far. We appreciate those of you that have been commenting and giving us your thoughts. What are your thoughts so far? Are you learning anything new? Is there anything that you're learning new? And if so, what have you learned that was new for you? Right? The objective is to always bring something that can increase our understanding or any information that we just didn't know. What did you learn so far? Or what solidified what you already know? All right. You back, Chief Prince?
Ken, I'm here. Again, check your message real quick.
I saw it. I saw it. All right. Let's see. Here we go. I missed hearing from the Chief and you as well, Donnie, with some balanced discussions. All praises to the Most High. All honor and praise. Kabola Meleka Leon to the Most High. Torah for your kind words.
Indeed, indeed. Hallelujah.
All right. So where would you like us to go from here? One second, you all. All right, you all. I'm back. One second. Give me a second. And I'm gonna pull your comment up, Gabriel Yehoshua. So hold on, don't go nowhere. All righty, 1 second. All right. So I didn't know that these events were simultaneous. Yes, there's a lot that people do not know. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you all can hear me. I have some little difficulties, but it's a lot that people don't know. We're reading we're just reading the book. Of course, we know that these events are, we believe that these events to be true, of course, but we're not too familiar with the chronological order of these events. So that's what this is for, right? We want to be talking about a lot of stuff in Sage Talk. So, all right, let me pull up the next comment. Each segment thus far has provided some good information about history. All praises to the Most High. All right, Chief Prince, you available? You're muted. If you let me unmute you. Hold on 1 second. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me fix this problem. 1 second. All right, you should be good to go. And go ahead and take the floor for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Okay. So yeah, as far as that this last statement, comment about the a lot of the events happening at the same time, like yeah, it's one of the difficulties that as Israelites that we've had when dealing with the current Christian canon, and not just the canon itself, but the way that it's laid out. It's they give us the canon, but they don't give us context. They don't give us the geopolitical events that were happening during the time that these books were written, the time that they were being written. So therefore, when you see certain things happening in Scripture, there's nothing to connect it to. There's no way to connect it to anything in real time because we have this tendency, again, thanks to how Christianity has have given us the Bible. We believe these events are happening in a vacuum. We believe that we believe that Ezra is happening in a vacuum. What I'm saying, in a vacuum that's completely different than the vacuum that's happening with Esther, in a different vacuum that's happening in Daniel, and the different. This is how it's been presented, and we have to remember that just like the language, the Hebrew culture, the Hebrew geopolitics was an organic event. These were organic events. They happened in the natural course of living. So we have to go into the scriptures reading it as natural occurrences, real time events, and not these mystical, magical ways that the Christians have taught us to view them. These were real events, real times, real concerns. And again, just to kind of wrap up the point with Esther, this is not to suggest that Esther, I mean, because obviously people sometimes in life, we got to do what we got to do in order to survive. Esther and Mordecai, they made a decision that was, from a secular standpoint, was a very wise thing to do. They had to they had to play their hand a certain way in order to gain favor and make life a little bit better for them and the Israelites that were living in Susa at the time. But while admitting to that, we also had to remember that the Most High made a decree that they were supposed to leave, that Israel was supposed to get up out of there and come back to the land to rebuild. So anything that happens in the book of Esther, again, like I said earlier, it becomes a moot point because
Yeah.
the struggles that they were having under the Persians would never have happened had they just been obedient.
Yeah. And see,
Yeah.
I think that's interesting, and we know contextually that's real true as far as, look, they was only supposed to be in there for 70 years and they were supposed to go, they could return, and when I'm looking at that time, I'm looking at now, who's to say that, of course, we're not returning back to where we're supposed to, or we were from right now, but who's to say that the Most High is not telling most of us, hey, y'all got to remove yourselves from this system, or not even that, remove yourselves from having 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Come together. Focus
Absolutely.
on me. So it's a mirror to me when I'm looking at this whole dynamic with those 4. Actually 5. Maybe even more, but I'm specifically talking about Zerubbabel, Yehoshua, Ezra, Nehemiah, and the Haggai. But anywho, I passed the mic.
No, yeah, it's and this is what makes that's what makes the history even greater. And what actually, again, and this is what makes even the book of Esther, and I think this is probably the reason why the Pharisees of the Parushim, why they kept it in the canon.
Right.
They probably looked at it like, well, okay, let's get, aside from the obvious issues that we're having, whatever. No, this is some really good material because again, it's showing the other side. It's not being biased. It's showing that yes, listen, even sometimes with the best intentions, oftentimes we have good intentions, but we still disobey the Most High, even with good intentions. So there's a beautiful lesson that comes out of the book of Esther in that regard, that even when you think you're doing what you need to do to survive in a situation, yes, you are surviving, but you wouldn't have to survive if you would have been obedient. And this is something that we can apply to ourselves in our personal lives.
Yeah. Yep.
If you were obedient, you wouldn't have to survive. You would be living.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so, yeah, so I think you wanted to, I think you wanted to do like a quick sidestep, into, I want to say it was in Nehemiah chapter 9.
Yeah.
Chapter 8. I believe it's chapter 8, I believe.
Yeah. I'll take us there right now. And the reason we come here, you all, and please, if you're just coming in, right, and you wasn't here from the beginning, take a break tonight and just come back and fill it up, fill yourself up with the rest of the information that's been brought out. But right now, reason I wanted to go here and have Chief Prince speak on it is because you've been hearing him speak from the lens or the lenses of the Pharisees and what they thought process of, the struggles they had with some of the books being our canon. And okay, should we leave this in there? How can it affect us? How can it affect those that may not be as grounded as they should be, or as we would like them to be, or even as the Most High will want them to be? How can we? How can it affect them? So, but they still allowed them to be in there for their personal reasons, collective reasons. And Chief Prince kind of just brought out what one of the reasons may have been, and it solidified what Ezra and Haggai was speaking of. You got to see from Haggai's point of view and Ezra's point of view, but then you got to see what they were actually talking about from Esther and Mordecai's point of view. So now we're about to go into chapter 8 of Nehemiah. And the purpose of going is because this term Pharisees, and I spoke on it already. I won't repeat myself. So just if you haven't heard it, just go back. Where did it derive from? What was the idea or that concept of Pharisees from? So I'm about to bring you back up, Chief Prince, and let you take the floor. What would you like me to go? What would you like me to bring out? The Hebrew, whatever it is. I got you.
Indeed. And you know what? And being that, if we're going to dive, we might as well go ahead and just dive all the way with it. Let's not do a cherry picking situation. So I really want to focus on chapter 8, verse 8, but we're going to start at verse 1. And if I can, in the immortal words of ISBK, read.
Nehemiah 8:1. And all the people gathered as one man into the square before the water gate, and they told Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moshe that the Most High had commanded Bnei Israel. So Ezra the priest brought the law before the assembly, both men and women and all who could understand what they heard, on the first day of the 7th month. And he read from it facing the square before the water gate from early morning until midday, in the presence of the men and the women and those who could understand. And the ears of all the people were attentive to the book of the law.
Now, mind you, let me just interject real quick. Anybody that's listening, watching, and will listen and watch, this is the beginning. What you're about to witness, This is something that had not been done in prior times in Israel. What Ezra is introducing here is next level, and this is the beginning of what we now of what well, this is the beginning of something really radical because it had not been done in previous times. He's reading the law before the people, man, or brought the law before the people, the men and the women. And now look what we read. What we at? Verse 4, brother?
Verse 4, yep.
Okay.
And Ezra the scribe stood on a wooden platform that they had made for the purpose. And beside him stood Mattathiah, Shema, Ananiah, Uriah, Hilkiah, and Maaseiah on his right hand, and Pariah, Mishael, Malchiah, Hashum, Hashbadana, Zechariah, and Meshulam on his left hand. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he had he was above all the people, and as he opened it, all the people stood. And Ezra blessed the Most High, the great Elohim, and all the people answered, "So be it, so be it," lifting up their hands, and they bowed their heads and worshiped the Most High and their faces to the ground.
Mhm.
Also, Yehoshua, Bani, Sherebiah, Yamin, Akub, Shabbathiah, Hodiah, Messiah, or Mahasiah, Kalita, Azariah, Yozabad, Hanan, Peliah, and the Levites helped the people to understand the law while the people remained in their places.
Mhm.
They read from the book, from the law of Elohim clearly, and they gave the sense so that the people understood the reading.
What? Let's get the Hebrew text for verse 8 because this is where we get a chance to see what's really happening. So far, what do we see? We see an innovation. We see the origins of real street teaching. They're literally in the land. They set up a pulpit, which nowadays they call the bima. In Hebrew, they call it the bima, like a pulpit. He stands up there, has the law. Men on the right side, men on the left side, reading, and there's something else that is happening with that reading. It says that they caused the people to understand the law, and the people stood in their place. So this is not just simply reading for the sake of reading. This is no, you're going to get this work. You're going to understand what's happening here. But something very important happens in verse 8 that you will never catch it unless you read it in the Hebrew. Let's get that real quick, Adoni.
So in English, real quick, it says, they read from the book, from the law of Elohim clearly, and they gave the sense so that the people understood the reading. All right. And in Hebrew, it says, Wayikreu besefer betorat ha-Elohim me porash. We shom shekol wa yabinu bemikra.
Now, for those who may not be familiar with what's going on in the text, what term should we be focusing on, Adoni?
We should be focusing on parash.
Indeed. Parash. Parash literally means what?
Right here on the left side, it says translating. But when we click on it, let's bring it up. Go to the Strongs for the people that need to see it. It says literally to disperse or specify, to declare distinctively. Let's keep going. Let me see this right here. Go to the Brown Drivers Briggs.
Mm-hmm.
It says make distinct, declare, to separate, to explain, to distinguish, to compare, to declare distinctively to them.
Indeed. And even in the verb sense, to pierce. This word, parash, they say that this is the word that they translate as to make something clear or distinct, to pierce it, to get the deeper meaning behind.
Mm-hmm.
The word parash is the Hebrew verb, or originally parash, the verb, which later on became the root of the word parushim, or individuals who pierce or read something distinctly, break it down, make it clear. Parushim is the Hebrew term for Pharisee.
Mm-hmm.
The Pharisees' existence, the beginning of the Pharisees, is right in Ezra chapter 8, verse 8, as far as those individuals who not only read the law, but they read it and they made the people to understand it distinctly. They're breaking this law down. They're not just simply reading the law and saying, okay, that's what it says. They're reading it and saying, now let's get into, okay, what does this word mean? Okay, this word, what they're saying is that this is the beginning of what became known as Pharisaic literature, Pharisaic interpretation, because they were not satisfied with just simply reading it. What is
Mm-hmm.
this? What sense does it make to keep a law that you don't understand?
That's right.
So they made sure that they instituted something that we haven't seen in days prior. Maybe as with the exception of the days of Moshe, we don't see anything in between that time of someone actually literally standing there and reading the law and then making the people understand the sense of that text.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning of what became known as the Pharisees. Now, when you go into the Apocrypha, they pop up in the book of First Maccabees as the Assyrians in the English, but they're called the Chassidim, the pious ones.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go and take upon the name Parushim decades later. So when the New Testament opens up and we read about these elders who are in the synagogues, who Yeshua, Yahushua, whatever, goes to Jerusalem at 12 years old to sit among these elders, hearing them, asking them questions, and all of these different things. Who were these elders that he was sitting amongst? These were the Pharisees. The Pharisees have their root in the days of Ezra, because this was the first time in that modern era of Israelite existence that the practice of reading the law and making the people understand the law by breaking it down, by piercing it, this was the first time anything had been done at that point. And then those men passed it down to men after them, and those after them. Now you have an entire movement of scholars that are like, no, we're no longer going to just simply read the law to the people. How do you expect the people to keep a law that they can't even understand because you can't even break it down?
Yep. And then we also see in Nehemiah 8 and 13, this is how they figured out about the feasts, right? We see it says 8 and 13, on the second day, the heads of fathers' houses of all the people with the priests and the Levites came together to Ezra, the scribe, in order to study the words of the law. So we didn't see this either.
Right.
We didn't see stuff like this either. You know what I'm saying? Like the priests did what they did, the Levites, but it says the heads of the fathers, houses of all the people, with the priests and the Levites, not just priests and Levites, but with the priests and the Levites came together to Ezra, the scribe, in order to study the words of the law. So they're all coming together, and breaking it down and getting the understanding so that they understand how to come to the people, and bring it out. So I think that was amazing.
And
I think that was, to know.
No, indeed, and if I may, Adoni, because there's an important reason, well, among other reasons, because it's all important, but there's something else that has now happened in the book of Nehemiah, in these scriptures that we're reading. There's something that is happening there that would have ramifications 400-500 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to the Levites, this practice by Ezra would eventually replace the priesthood.
Yeah.
Because, and when I say the priesthood, I don't mean the priesthood as an institution, but as far as the people having to rely on the priests to have an understanding of the law and then make atonement and all the Pharisees are like, well, no, listen, you too can understand the law. You can understand. You don't have to go to anybody else. I'm going to show you. We're going to go into this law. You're going to read it. You're going to understand it. And now you can go and teach your household. This is why you now have the heads of the families, the heads of the houses, because now they're going to be able to teach law in their homes. This was something that wasn't done in times past.
Yep.
The people went to inquire of the Most High through the priest. They went to the priest, they went to the prophet, so on and so forth. But now Ezra is now ushering in a new era in Israelite history. This is a completely different history. Now you don't have to go necessarily to the priest in order to get an understanding. The priest will continue to function the way that priests function, as far as sacrifices, things of that nature. But as far as knowing what the will of the Most High is, you're now getting it every day. You're getting these readings regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Scribes are sitting here making copies of the law left and right. Now the heads of the households, of various households, they now have their own Torah scroll.
Yep.
And
Ezra
now they
did that
can.
for a reason.
Indeed, this was all. Listen, bro.
He wanted to make sure. Look, we gonna make sure as many people as possible understand this.
Indeed, because remember, think about what occurred. What occurred right before the Babylonian captivity? What happened? The temple was destroyed. It was burned to the ground.
Wow. I don't know if you
And
can
the
see
only.
this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
Mikael Mariahu said Jeremiah 31:34 question mark? Maybe.
Well played, sir. Well played. But indeed, and so when you think about the burning of the temple in those days, the only ones who had the law were the priests.
Yeah.
The priests and the scribes. They were the only ones. So now imagine a situation where the temple is burned to the ground. The Babylonians love it because they're the ones that's doing it. Edomites are on the side talking about, yeah, burn it to the ground. I mean, everyone is loving this, whatever like that. Nobody has the law. The law now is gone.
Yeah.
The people who go into the Babylonian captivity, they only have a remembrance of the law, not a remembrance of what the law was, but now only a remembrance. This is what Psalm 137 is about.
Mm-hmm.
By the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. So there's an understanding that Ezra, learning from what happened during the Babylonian, the beginning of the Babylonian captivity and the destruction of the temple, he's like, oh no. There's never going to be a time where no Israelite is not going to have this law. So that's when the scribes became a major player in our history. You hardly ever heard about the scribes prior to Ezra.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they are major players. So now the Pharisees, they're the ones who's breaking it down, teaching the people, and the scribes are the ones that are like, yo, listen, we're going to make this law available to every Israelite. Every household is going to have a Torah scroll, because now you won't have any excuse not to know the law.
That's right.
But this, of course, as time goes on, if you go into the book of Maccabees, you start to see that this is what was part of what damaged the Hasmonean dynasty, or the Maccabean Empire, was that the Maccabees, who were priests themselves, they were from the priestly tribe, they were from the priestly family, but they were priests who heavily relied on the Hasidians, or the Chassidim, the Pharisees of that time. They relied on them. And this is what caused a break with the Zadokites. The Zadokites were the royal priestly family. And they're like, wait a minute, we are the ones who run the show when it comes to the law and so on and so forth. But the Pharisees are like, nah, all you guys do is sacrifices. We're the ones who are teaching this law.
Mm.
So when you go into the history of the Maccabees, that's one of the things that caused the the change of power within the Hasmonean dynasty. You know, they're like, okay, the Pharisees are up and they're gonna, they oppress the Sadducees or with the Sadducees, so on and so forth. This became a long-lasting beef between those who read the law versus those who taught the law.
Yeah.
The priests read it. The Pharisees were like, no, we understand it. And the people are now going to understand it. And this is why the priests eventually began to hate the Pharisees, because the Pharisees have effectively taken power away from the priests, especially during the Maccabean time, because now the priesthood was already being corrupted. So you see that when you get to the opening of the New Testament, you see why this friction was happening between them, because the Pharisees had effectively made the corrupted priesthood of no effect. It's like, no, you don't have to go over here to figure out the law. You have the law. You have the scrolls. And if you don't have it, we teach this all week, and especially on the Shabbat. You come right on down to the Knesset. So there's other things that are going to happen that are going to play out after all of this that we're talking about, and maybe this might be for another episode. But
yes, sir.
Yeah, but the Parushim, or the Pharisees, their roots are in Ezra 8 and 8, and of course other areas as well. But Ezra 8 and 8, this is when you begin to see the beginning stages of street teaching, as far as being outside, up on a high pulpit, standing above the people. They're reading the law. They're breaking it down. All of this is happening. This is why you see today, when you see street teaching, you see the main teacher on the top, up on the pulpit, and they're usually what, three brothers on each side of him.
Yeah.
He's teaching, read.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Ezra chapter 8, whatever like that. And then he goes and does what? He doesn't just leave him, let him read and be like, okay, that's good. No, he's going to sit there and break it down. This is what Ezra was talking about. All of this we wouldn't have if it wasn't for the Parushim. And we wouldn't have the Parushim if it wasn't for the reformation of Ezra and Nehemiah. And that, I think, will kind of tie up that point. But this is, again, what all of this has to do with Esther is that these are the things that eventually the Pharisees were going to be fighting against. They were going to be fighting against cultural assimilation.
Yeah.
And having to build a fence around the Torah in order to protect the integrity. Because as we'll see in our next episode of Sage Talk, the preservation of Torah was literally going to become a life and death situation. And on that note, I'll back down.
All praise. Kabul Melech Alion. Honor to the Supreme King. Todah Rabah for that, Chief Prince. And Todah for all of you listening in. We pray it's something that was said that has increased your understanding, your knowledge, or solidified anything that you may have had. We're going to be getting it in, y'all. Let us know. Wednesday. Is Wednesday Yom Rebi'i or Yom Shalishi better for you all? Wednesday or Tuesday? Let us know, and then we'll go back to the drawing board and see if that suffice. Because again, my Isha, they have Fab's chat at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. Fab's chat, so please tune in to that segment. If you missed it, you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel to catch it. I'm going to make a playlist for them so that you could go and find their playlist for their segment as well at 4:10 p.m. every Yom Rebi'i or Wednesday.
That's right.
And then we'll come on, either continue on Yom Shalishi on Tuesday, or if Wednesday is best for everyone, and we go back to the drawing board and we all agree, we'll keep it at 8 p.m. on Yom Rebi'i. All right. Of course, I knew you was going to be the one that said it. Gabari Hostabus, he said, come on, keep it on Wednesday. All right. All right, you all. So we'll be seeing you all next week. We'll let you all know for sure what's the date that we'll continue doing it. May the Most High bless and guard each and every one of you. Please leave some comments. We'll make sure we read it, we comment, share it, let people know if this is something that you think can help them as well. Please tune in. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of context, history, to get an understanding of us in past times and where we should be at in present time. All right. Shalom, shalom. May the Most High bless and guard you all. Yebrekum Yahweh. Wa Yishmarekum. Shalom.
I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. I see a dream, that dream is green. And I don't mean material things. Freedom to the land, child, woman, and man. As we take up for what we stand. Better days and better nights. As we stand and unite. We're one and the same. Why is it so hard not to point and to blame? Better sheet, get our houses in order and we'll see the peace. There are steps that we must take if we want to see.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us.
The sake of us, the sake of us.
I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. No more failing, telling me and beneath. What a beautiful moment, and a sight I can't wait to see. Even if I miss it, at least I wasn't part of the mission. Changing lives of men, women, and children. All glory goes to He that causes us all to be. Oh, and if they're thinking we can, we show them that just as long as we stand. A monument, we the people can't be broken as long as we stay focused. I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. For the sake of us. I see my people rising, no more stopping us. A couple billion acres across America, us. The peace rose for the sake of us. I see my